Hello, everyone. That's Titus, and I'm Thomas, and this is Everyone's Bad at Magic, where we untap, upkeep, and punt. And that line is going to have to be retired soon because we're joined by our newest member for Everybody's Bad at Magic, Austin. You may remember Austin from our Judge episode. He's also hung out with us on another one of our episodes, but we've just had such a great time hanging out with him, and he punts pretty much as often as we do. So we invited him to join our team permanently. Austin, you want to just give everybody a quick intro into who you are?
First off, judges are meant to know the rules, not play the rules. We are notoriously bad at Magic. Hi, I'm Austin. I have been playing Magic for probably 15 plus years now. I have my L1 certification. I just renewed it, actually. And I am going to catch some flame for this, but I'm a blue player.
Why would you get flagged for playing the best color in Magic? Like,
Just as Richard Garfield said, it is the best color. However,
yeah, I
everyone hates
mean,
it.
no, dude, F that. Like, your answers have to be more powerful than your threats, or else the format spirals out of control. I'm with you. Blue is the best color. It's the best color to play, and I stand on that. I can't speak for Titus because
Red.
I'm not going to put words in his mouth. But I'm thrilled to have you here. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. We look forward to having you on tons of episodes in the future and teaching you how to edit so that I can do a little less of it. Before we jump into our episodes today, we do have a little bit of housekeeping that we have to go over. This is our last episode before the stock up. So if you are in Denver, Colorado this coming weekend, please come out and support a wonderful cause. We are raising money for the Colorado Artists in Recovery. This is going to be a 2-day event at the Denver Livestock Center. Come join us, Critical EDH. I believe that we have some homies from Squandering Resources and MTG Basics will be playing there as well. This is also happening in the middle of a card show, which is a really cool experience if you haven't had the chance to do so. Should be a lot of fun. It's a 1K and it's pretty cheap to sign up. It's only going to be $30 for entry. This is also being sponsored by Century Sleeves, our hashtag sponsor. So if you need some sleeves day of, all proceeds for any sleeve sold will be going directly to the charity. Yeah, come hang out. It'll be a good time. Following week, this is going to be a busy month, guys, so buckle in. The following week, just to shout them out, that's MTG Basics annual cEDH charity event where they're doing every Commander S partners. I know I'm attending. Are you guys going to come hang out for that one too?
I didn't know it was happening.
Fair. It's happening, and I'm really stoked to play some degenerate Magic. I've heard some of the things people are cooking up. I'm personally going to be playing Cabbage Merchant Marnius, a deck that I will not test until day of, but a Goldfish is gross, so I look forward to getting my teeth kicked in by Jason no matter what I play. And finally, we have the Siege coming up in June, which I believe all three of us are going to be at in some capacity or another. More to come on that later on. I think that's most of what we have to stand on business, other than check out Century Sleeves. Uh, they are the coolest sleeves right now. They feel amazing to shuffle. They have some of the crispiest feel. And if you want to check them out, they're pretty reasonably priced. And you can get 5% off by using EBAM5 for an additional 5% off what's already a $10 product. I put them up against Dragon Shield, Katanas, heavy play. I've moved my favorite decks into those sleeves already. Austin played some Dan with me last week with them, and I think he would say that they're pretty darn good as well.
My new Ishtola deck's going
Awesome. That's the business for the day. Um,
in.
yeah, great transition, right, guys? We're going to move into our punter's confessional. And my brothers, I have punted, and I have punted pretty horrifically. This is a pretty classic one. I was testing out Ragishai. Shocker for those who know me. I do like mid-range slop just a little bit. I had mulliganed pretty deeply to a 6, and I played a turn 1 fish with a plan to play a turn 2 Curse of Opulence. I forgot to play Rograk on turn 1. I don't play Rograk decks. It wasn't something that was really on my mind. So I couldn't swing with Rograk on my turn 2 to make a gold with my Curse of Opulence. I got so frazzled by that, I forgot to pay for my fish. Um, and I just completely started spiraling on the game. Every single little mistake I made just started compounding, and I did not correct. I didn't take a deep breath, correct myself, and I eventually obviously ended up losing that game because I lost my advantage engines, both in my card advantage and my mana advantage, and I stalled out. A very obvious takeaway from this is if you make a mistake, slow down. It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. Don't let yourself spiral. Don't get in your own head. I didn't. I panicked. And my opponents saw me panicking and they put the pressure on. And they are homies and they have every right to do so. But maybe if you see your homies floundering, tell them to take a breath. What about you guys? Did you punt at all this past week? Start with you, Titus.
All right. I wouldn't say that it's, necessarily the worst thing that I've ever done in a game, but I went for a turn three Nas, if I'm correct. MCL turn one, Metavault turn two, and then Adnos turn three. And the reason why I went from this was I was playing against two Mardu decks and a Kinnan that went to one card in hand.
Oh yeah, who's gonna stop you?
Exactly. However, I had a very terrible Nas hit all my high mana value spells, and I stopped at seven. And I had a relatively protected hand, not like the greatest thing. If I got back to my turn, I was more than likely going to win unless there was a lot of interaction or anything going on. And I played out a Bowmaster so I couldn't get swung on by the Rowan player. And I also popped the Esper Sentinel by the Slust player. So, my life total was relatively protected. However, giving Rowan a turn, uh, well, it's usually a bad thing because they had Rowan out. And I had the force to be able to stop. I forget which spell. They had a deflecting swat and proceeded to win the game. So the reason why I say this is a punt is the person on Kinnan who went to one card in hand was Jason. And uh, Jason, after took a look and kind of brought to my attention that, you should have gone a bit deeper into the library. And already I hit like a Mox Opal and an offer you can't refuse, which sure, there was still the deflecting swat, but there's a possibility to just win on the spot on that turn and not give the opponents an opportunity to either win on their turns, especially with how it was currently set up.
Yeah, I guess if you hit all of your expensive spells pretty early on, what's left in your deck other than gas?
Yeah. So
Adnos is also an instant.
look, this was my window, and that's what I felt like was my window. Maybe that's the other pun is I should have waited on somebody else's turn, activated in response. But either way, it probably would have been the same outcome where Rowan would have won. So I just feel like sometimes when you're gonna do a play like that, you should commit all the way.
Yeah. The other like hidden thing there is you should never let a Rowan untap.
Yes.
You're gonna lose. How about you, Austin? You played clean this last week?
So I hadn't played Magic in months, and I went and played at a small little local tournament and decided to goldfish before it started. The two games I played in the tournaments went fine, other than I got steamrolled. However, my goldfishing games were not so clean. My first goldfish game, I mulled to 5. And eventually, I think it was like turn 4 or something. I was sitting there staring at all my combo pieces, either in my yard, in my hand, or in play. Um, Note I was playing Tameshi, so I have access to my yard as to bring back. And I didn't see any of them. So I proceeded to tutor through my library to find other pieces. I wasted 3 tutors and set up a combo that I didn't have any of the pieces for in hand or graveyard.
That is a rare punt. The self punt. At least it didn't affect any real games. But
Nope.
hey,
Later.
you gotta kick the cobwebs off. It's better to do that in a goldfish.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing those stories, guys. Hopefully, we can use them to be better in future games. Today, we're doing something a little bit different, and this is hopefully something that we're planning on doing a bit more in the future. We're all kind of brewers at heart. This may shock some of you, but we like fringe decks, and we tend not to play things that are hyper meta. Yes, I've done some runs on Kinnan. I think Titus has played a little bit of Rogsai. Austin, I think you're actually just pure fringe, so good on
I
you.
played VV before VV made it meta, then I stopped playing VV.
Yeah, I stand on that point.
I'll
Um,
pull out my Illusion deck, don't test me.
oh, sweet summer child. So we have decided that we want to take some of our brewing skills and compare them against each other. We've picked a couple commanders that we will be testing out and comparing what we came up with. One of the first ones that we want to do is going to be Jan Jansen Chaos Crafter. Jan Jansen is a Mardu commander that costs just Mardu, no additional pips, is a legendary creature Gnome Artificer that's a 3/3, and Jan Jansen has haste and 2 tap abilities. The first is sacrifice an artifact creature, create 2 treasure tokens, and the second tap is sacrifice a non creature artifact and create 2 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature tokens. This is fundamentally a somewhat broken commander. When you're looking at a cEDH commander, I personally believe it needs to do 3 things, or one of 3 things, or a combination of them. It either needs to generate mana, generate card advantage, or be a combo piece. Jan Jansen doesn't give us card advantage, but isn't good colors for tutors. What it does do is it generates mana and it's a combo piece. So I think that having 2 out of the 3 does qualify this as a potential decent, if not fringe, mid-tier cEDH commander. Would you guys agree with that
it's,
assessment?
it, it's
Yeah.
Mardu. How do you get card advantage in the command zone?
Timna? Timna's the answer?
Okay, hush you.
Yeah, we might snipe at each other a little bit on this one because we all have with very different ideas apparently. So over the last week, we each came up with our own decks based off of what we think breaks Jan Jansen, and we're gonna see if we can kind of make a camel out of this. Sorry, when 3 engineers make a horse, they make a camel. Uh, Stupid joke. Oh wow, that hit with Austin. Um, but we're going to see if we can take our ideas and meld them into something worthwhile. You may notice that the first deck we're looking at has 85 cards. That's because I ran out of time and did not fully flesh out my list. I came with what I think is a very strong idea, though, with how this list should function. Before we jump into this, I do want to acknowledge that Jan Jansen does have some pretty solidified combos where it goes infinite with Clock of Omens and Liquid Metal Torque slash Liquid Metal
Coding.
Coating. Thank you.
Mhm.
It also goes infinite with Dross Scorpion and I believe it's also Liquid Metal
Mhm.
Coating. I personally think that those are garbage combos, so I excluded them completely from my list. I don't know if you guys feel differently about that. Oh, wow, you guys do. You have feelings. Um, So,
Is this there was an event, a side event in the past, and I believe a couple of content creators talk about it. But it was the mini, I think it was the mimeoplasm, and like a lot of people just took a different deck and put that as the commander and just played their deck as the other stuff. Others went super hard into it, or I forget, they picked a specific strategy. It didn't feel like it entirely had the heart of the mimeoplasm as the sole focus. Um, but I could be wrong on that. And also, I I think we could relate this maybe to the Flubs the Fool event in Colorado that happened a while back too, where people had a bunch of different takes on Flubs.
yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from on that. We're definitely not doing a mirror. I have no desire to do that, but I do think that, or I hope that I can convince you guys that my take on this deck is the correct one. But I think you guys are going to try to do the same thing to me. Clearly, we have a fundamental disagreement on what we're doing for our win cons. So without further ado, let's kind of jump into this. It looks like, Austin, you have my deck up first.
Yes.
And the fundamental idea behind how I built this is that this deck makes a lot of treasures, it has a lot of silences, and it has a lot of tutors. That's all it does. So it can accelerate itself really, really quickly. I want to get really protected win turns very early on. And one thing that Jan Jansen does that I don't think a lot of people really realize is that it combos with Abdel Adrian loops. So you can make infinite treasures when you reanimate, or sorry, not reanimate, when you entomb and animate dead your Abdel Adrian. So how Abdel Adrian works is you can exile a number of other non-land permanents you control until it leaves the battlefield. If you target the animate dead with Abdel's ability, it'll flicker out and then re or come back onto the battlefield. And if you do the same thing with the Jan Jansen, it will be able to tap to make two treasures each time, essentially creating a loop where you make two treasures or you make two artifact creatures each time, essentially making infinite treasure tokens.
Given you have one of the prerequisites for Jan Jansen.
Correct, but I am not worried about making treasures in this deck because if you look up at our creatures, everything makes a treasure. We have Lotho, we have Magda, we have Ragavan, we have Tataru Taru, we have Comball, we have Professional Facebreaker, Stormkiln Artist, Knuckles. Um, Heck, we have Hope of Girapur. Everything in this deck is built to make treasures. It is treasures.deck. Even if on the first loop we are making artifact creatures by sacking a treasure token, every subsequent one we can start making treasure tokens. And we have outlets for these with Comball and Mayhem Devil. So we can just kill out the table by sacrificing those treasures to Mayhem Devil, or every time we make them, uh, our opponents will lose a life and will gain a life through Comball's ability. Being in Mardu, we have the best tutors in black. We have the best silences and protection in red and white currently, thanks to Hexing Squelcher and Grand Abolisher and Voice of Victory. And we also have some really cute little effects in here, like Ephemerate, Cloud Shift, where we can just target our Jan Jansen to get extra activations early to really fuel some of these more expensive things. What do you guys think? Am I cooking or am I cooked?
I think you have a Mardu pile.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good deck.
I would concur, but that might be the way to approach a commander like this. And I can go a bit into that later as well when we get to what I came up with.
My biggest thing in Commander is you have access to one guaranteed card in your deck.
Hmm.
Only one in the command zone. If
Yes.
you aren't utilizing this to its fullest potential, I think you're selling yourself short. That is my personal take on it.
I agree with you, and this deck cannot win without the commander. So we do get hosed by Adranith Magistrate. Like, this is a commander-centric pile, but it is a pile that is a lot of good cards. You're not wrong, But I mean, who's running Knuckles? Like this is
I'm
taking
a
what the commander does and really expanding upon it.
And I think,
No, we're not winning that way, Austin. You ignore that. That is not the
it,
way we want to win this
look,
game.
one out of how many games? That might be a real possibility.
You're not wrong.
You are
We do
correct.
Is
also
it
have access, yeah.
statistically significant? I don't know.
We do also have access to breach lines. There's a Praetor's Grasp to seal somebody's brain freeze for the initial mill or Thoracle. But overall, the main game plan is to win through Jan Jansen. The breach lines are backup. It's a very treasure focused deck, and I could really be talked into adding some hot top end cards, such as Ancient Copper Dragon to get with our Hoarding Broodlord, or some cool things like Goldspan Dragon as well to really flesh out the treasure package.
Something that Jan Jansen can do is produce mana, which will have some like little utilities where you can sacrifice even like say your Mana Vault, your Grand Monolith, or your Wishclaw Talisman so you can sack it in response to activating it and not give the player a card. This commander may provide some incremental advantage through the course of the game.
How are you
And
sacrificing your mana vault? I'm not seeing that here.
sacrifice a non-creature artifact, create 2/1/1 colorless construct
Oh,
artifact.
wow, I didn't even think of that. I always just thought of that as a treasure token. That is a
You could
whole
activate
nother
your
level
Wishclaw
of the deck that
Talisman.
I was not thinking
Yeah.
through. That's a really good point, Titus.
So we could look at this as having some more opportunity to take this commander in different directions. And the other thing too is I don't think you necessarily included these for Jane Jansen, but Ephemerate and Flicker and all that. Technically, you can flicker Jan to sack or produce a little bit more mana on something as well. Haste on this commander, I think, is the benefit because if it had summoning sickness, it would make it way worse.
Yeah, no, that's 100% why I included those cards. It also gets around removal, which I think is really important.
I also really like because you're so treasure focused, you can play those big haymakers like Hoarding Broodlord or Ancient Copper Dragon, like you've been asked or talking about. My take is definitely not treasure focused, and so I lean more on the cheaper side.
Yeah, I don't think I could run Adnaz, or I'm not even on Necropotence. I don't think that would work well in this list. I also want to lean a little heavier towards dragons because Magda, the second it hits the board, it already has 5 treasures to
Yeah,
go and make its first search. But I think that's kind of enough on my take of the deck. I'd love to see what one of you guys did next.
I got
Austin,
Sure.
there's a reason why.
Okay, so just a little bit of history on Austin's deck. Austin's actually played this commander before, so he's coming with a running start. Just want to throw that out here.
I have played a lot of Fringe. I actually found this deck a long time ago right when he came out and played it casually, and he was a little too strong for my casual pod. So I upgraded him to cEDH.
Oh, you're on Bomberman?
I am on Bomberman. However, upon I made a few tweaks since the last time when we brought up this concept. Like I've added ravenous robots from Ninja Turtles. As I've pondered it, I actually don't think Bomberman is good enough for this deck, mainly because the outlet is not in the command zone.
I
Uh,
kind of agree with you, but it looks like you're also just on eggs, so I'm assuming you can nose real deep on this.
yes, this is a Adnos deck. It is meant to become a Rube Goldberg machine, basically. I want to do everything. It's why I play Tameshi. I don't want my opponents to really understand what's happening until it's too late. A lot of eggs that make other creatures like Hangerback Walker or draw me cards like Barket Walker if you got some mana to dump. I think Disciple of the Vault is probably a bit cleaner than Campbell. It doesn't give you mana and it technically doesn't give you tokens, but it's cheaper.
I can see where you're coming from that, and I could definitely see the value of having both. I might overvalue Comball. I just love that card specifically from my time playing Marnius because it gives you treasures from when somebody else has a Smothering Tithe.
Right.
And
Um,
there's Sitaru Tarus everywhere right now. So
I yes, you are correct. Actually, this deck I've made very minor adjustments with the newer cards. I before this I haven't updated it since Lord of the Rings.
or what is your Goblin Welder package?
It is Goblin Welder, and I don't have the other goblin in here. Always Liquid Metal Torque,
Okay.
because that is Jan's bread and butter. Um, and Titus will love this. It's also a stacks deck.
So, on that, there's more I'll have to say later, but that was something that I think is a possibility with this commander.
It has all the Mardu hates, all the Mardu tutors. I think Jan is a very, very great contender for running Diabolic Intent, Beseech the Mirror, just because it's easy for him. Savine's Reclamation is just a given for this type of deck. Wear and Tear, I think I got as a tech from Modern, going against, I play it in Ruby Storm, going against like Deafening Silence type effects or Rule of Law effects. This also tells Ristic Study to basically shove it.
Yeah, this deck feeds a study like no business. I think that's a really good include.
One of my hottest takes of this deck, and I absolutely love the card. It feels so good to play it, is Sting. It is undervalued and no one ever looks at it, but it is such an engine.
All right, talk us through it.
At the beginning of every combat, untap an equipped creature. It's 4 mana to put into play, or sorry, 2 mana to put into play, 4 mana to, or 2 mana to equip, so 4 mana total.
So it
Uh,
pays for itself the turn it comes down.
yep, it gives +1/+1, and first strike as long as it's blocking or blocked by a goblin, which doesn't matter. So, Jan, you cast him, tap, make 2 treasures, play Sting, tap your Soul Ring, equipped it. Pass turn, next opponent goes through their thing, untaps Jan, tap him again. And just you're accumulating value. And by the time you get back to your turn, you could have upwards of 4 treasures untapped, 5 creatures, something like
Because it's
that.
each combat, not your combat.
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
And you can sack your defense grid too on somebody else's turn as needed.
Yeah,
yes.
Thomas, this was a bit of a before conversation.
Um,
Okay, I see it. I see it. Okay, fair. You've talked me into defense grid. I was hating on defense grid before this conversation, but I wouldn't
Look,
run it over voice, but I would run it in conjunction with the rest of the silences here.
it
absolutely.
it's not the greatest against like a deck that produces a ton of mana because it could more than likely cast spells through it, but I mean, there's still a utility to it.
Still a taxing effect.
Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, I just don't like that you are sacrificing it to get the artifact creatures. If you could sack it to get the treasures, I would be more on board with it. That's my caveat to not loving it.
and I think Titus might be on my side with this. I know Thomas is not. Draw Scorpion, I think, is a major haymaker in this deck, because even if you don't make Jan an artifact, you tap him, sacrifice something, and untap your Mana Vault or untap your Grim Monolith or something. Because whenever an artifact creature is put into the graveyard, you untap target artifact.
Yes. The card and the reason why, well, I'll go into it a bit more later why I'm not on it, but I do agree, is that for Jan to combo with it, as well as Jan needs to be an artifact, you need an additional sacrifice outlet to be able to untap Jan again.
I think he's talking about outside of with Jan, because your Grim Monolith, your Soul Ring, your XYZ, I'm just not personally on enough colorless cells where it super matters, and I feel like my mana production is just going to be astronomical to where that's win more.
It doesn't even have to be an artifact though. You could activate
Well,
Wishclaw Talisman, in response, sacrifice a creature or an artifact creature, untap your Wishclaw Talisman, and activate it again.
I,
yes, or you're wondering.
It's just
oh,
to be an artifact.
well, definitely not running the One Ring.
I do think Campbell is much better than Mirkwood Bats, so ignore this creature. This one's bad.
Yeah, I think two outlets is probably the correct number for this kind of deck. I think three might be a little much, each to their own. I see where you're coming from. I see value here. I think that there's a couple choices that we would definitely take from this
Hmm.
list, and a couple that we might talk about maybe leaving behind when we combine lists in a bit. Um, I won't like fist fight you or anything, but like I do like the eggs. At the very least, I really would like to take Memnite Ornithopter. I think those are really good cards to run
Hmm.
regardless. I think Walking Ballista is a free thing to run just in general and would be good across the board. How you guys feel about moving on to the last list before we start talking about the best pieces of each one that could potentially be combined into a decent deck?
Yeah.
So my list is a bit of a mess. If I was to rename the deck title, I'd probably name it Jan Jansen's Junk Drawer. Uh, because I have a bit of everything going on, it feels like. And also my mana curve feels kind of high. But just to give a little bit of the thought process into where I was going with this. So with this commander, kind of where Austin was seeing, it could be a stacks commander. And one of the other commanders that I kind of looked at for inspiration, besides Magda, was Oswald Fiddlebender. But Jan doesn't get the benefit of sacking up into a better artifact to get rid of the pieces. It just removes it, and it's looking at what does the list provide for advantage. So for the advantage like thing, just traditionally Necropotence, Wheel of Fortune, Ad Nauseam, besides your Esper Sentinel and your one card off it's Taru. But being able to also tutor off Magda. I do like the artifact goblins in the deck, recurring pieces, say your winding clock, which both Austin and I are on, or not winding clock, apologies, clock of omens. Your clock of omens goes away, which was kind of the thought process for adding Merwelder, was to be able to have another chance at clock of omens.
Okay, slow down. What does Merwelder do? Let's talk that through.
uh, Imprint, tap, exile target card from or target artifact from a graveyard. Mere Welder has all activated abilities of all cards exiled with it. It's a 3-drop 1/4.
So it gives you the activated ability of clock of omens, as well as other artifacts.
So if you have it on the board and you find your goblin welder or engineer, you just put your Clock of Omens into a graveyard or your entomb, and you can imprint it to the mirror welder. I get it. Cool.
Yeah. The other thing is too, so I'm on Ashnod's Transmogrant, which is a Magda card.
Heck yeah, dude.
It's
Oh, this
in
card's so slept on.
if you'd like to read it, Austin.
Tap, sacrifice this artifact. Put a 1/1 counter on target non-artifact creature. That creature becomes an artifact in addition to its other types.
It's just another liquid metal torque effect.
Pretty
But it's
much.
permanent.
It is.
Well, as long as the creature's in play.
Mhm.
And it can also be tutored off of Urza Saga. It's
Mhm.
just little things, right? You take them where you can get them.
So before we jump down, can we go back up to creature package, please?
Sure.
Because there are some choices here that are cool
Bef-
and some that I don't understand.
Before we get
So,
into the really hot takes of this one, I really like Stride Hanger Automaton.
Thank you. It's Cheddarfang, or Marnius Tech.
Thopters you control get +1/+1. If one or more artifact tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying are created instead. Either mode of Jan triggers this.
mhm.
It's actually not even a trigger. I'm sorry. It's a replacement effect.
Yes. Notably, if you have something like your Academy manufacturer out, each individual token will also make an additional Thopter. Before we get into like the truly spicy creatures that you have here, I have to say I love Braid's Arisen Nightmare in general as a card. Braid's Arisen Nightmare is 1 and 2 black for a 3/3 at the beginning of your end step. You may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent of their choice that shares a card type. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. This effectively reads deny some value or gain 3 cards per turn. My one main concern with running this card in this type of list is that this to me is a really mid-range piece, and I'm not sure this is a mid-range pile. This is the type of card that I see in like Esper Malcolm decks. So, would you mind kind of going through your thought process on that, Include?
So this is where like playing with the list and getting more games and seeing how it feels is going to be very important for cuts and additions. But the thought process with here was just, being able to get some card advantage or building up, even if we go off of a low hand. Maybe I have a land, Dark Ritual, and Braids. You know, there's still the possibility of dropping that. If people want to sack their land, great. If not, I get to draw some cards and kind of build up from there.
So you would sack your land and then try to get some card draw?
Maybe, yeah. Desperate
Okay.
times for desperate measures, or how that phrase goes.
Titus is crazy.
Okay.
Yes, to a
Okay.
certain degree.
Fair enough. I don't hate the include. It's just one I did want to point out as an interesting choice.
Think another slept on card that Titus is actually bringing up in this deck is Flame Scroll Celebrant. Whenever an opponent activates an ability that isn't a mana ability, this creature deals 1 damage to that player. I'm looking at you, Basalt Monolith.
I think the backside of that card is the real reason to be running this.
It's just a silence effect.
What do you mean? Silence effects are the main reason to play white in Magic.
But it's too white. We have Orange Chant, we have Silence, we have
Abeyance.
Titus, no.
It's in the list. They're all in the list. They're all in
Regardless,
the
I actually do like this include, and I think that this is a good card that should probably make the final list. I think this is a cool and hot piece of tech.
like it
Uh,
tells Kennen to shove it because Kennen's ability, his activated ability more specifically, Basalt Monolith's untap ability, you can't produce infinite mana anymore without dying. What are some other ones that are really common? The Thrasios, any planeswalker
Necropotence,
ability,
Trigger
Necropotence,
Swice.
Oh yeah.
Magda.
We're
I don't know.
stretching now, but
Yeah,
I hear you. Why the front side is tangentially decent and the back side is great. Um,
the backside, they're both situational, but the fact that
yeah,
it's on a single card
yes,
makes it
We
really
get
good.
we get options,
I do
right?
like
Options.
options. Marvin. Marvin's kind of cool, actually. Getting double the treasure production at 2 mana, that kind of doesn't suck.
So with Marvin, why aren't you running Draw Scorpion?
So I think there's a place for Draw Scorpion. It'll probably require some finagling around of what cards are in the list. But for Draw Scorpion, kind of going into before and how it works, yes, you get a lot of value off of sacking an artifact creature and getting some untaps. But for the combo really to work, you need Jan Jansen to be an artifact creature. And then you need an additional sack outlet, which could work from Goblin Bombardment or even Skull Clamp. So Jan Jansen will sack something, right? So say we do an artifact creature.
I think you're missing this, Titus. This is the artifact creature Jan Jansen.
Oh yeah, yep, yep.
That's kind of what
Titus
we're
is onto
saying.
something.
Yeah.
So you don't need another sack outlet. You need another token producer. Is where you're actually trying to get at. So like Stride Hanger Automaton would do it perfectly. You sacrifice the Thopter that it creates to make 2 treasure tokens, but so the Thopter dies, you untap Marvin, withdraw Scorpion. Since you created those 2 treasure tokens, you then created Thopter token, rinse and repeat.
Yes, Austin.
Yes. Um,
But you are correct. The more that we sit here and talk about it, I do think Draw Scorpion might be a little too cute.
I do like the card. I just think it requires maybe a little bit more of a build around.
if I'm honest, I think I like Marvin better than any of the liquid metal effects. I think that is kind of the coolest
Absolutely.
find so far. To the point where I would consider running it in my build, and I don't particularly want to run Draw Scorpion. I don't really want to run
Mhm.
any of those effects, but I think Marvin on its own is a good enough duplicator to just have in the 99. I think that's a really cool. Okay, what is this Voidborn nonsense?
So, like Cannonball, and kind of where we were looking at what does the damage effects,
Mhm.
uh, I decided not to be on Mayhem Devil. I do think Mayhem Devil is a strong card, and also Disciple of the Vault, but I want to gain life. Even if this is just singular target. Now, this creature can be warped in for 1, and that's kind of the main thing there. So while it reads 3 CMC the turn you decide to go off, you're more mana efficient in that regard. The same reason why I'm on Cannonball, though, is again gaining life. Because a secondary combo, kind of taken from Marnius and Cheddarfang lists, is Warren Soul Trader. And to have something to gain life when you sack a treasure, which both Cannonball and the Voidborn work with the artifact tokens.
That's clever. You're cooking there, especially if you're running things like the Striad Hanger Automaton, and I see where you're coming from. I don't think Austin's sold here.
Makes mana too. Warren Soul Trader makes mana too.
I don't hate
Think
Warren Soul Trader. I don't hate Warren Soul Trader at all. I don't like this one.
Gains life.
Then just run Zulaport Cutthroat or Blood Artist.
This is
Because the
one
Warren Soul
mana.
Trader is
This is one.
it's 1 mana for a turn.
I
That's all we
mean,
need.
you should only be playing this on the turn that you're winning, I guess. I don't know. I still like Mayhem Devil over this, I think, just because it also triggers on other people's
Yeah.
Uh,
stuff.
the main reason for this is just the fact that when you sacrifice artifacts as well, that you get a trigger off of it.
Oh, you know what would be a really cool card that none of us are running currently? Seize the Spotlight.
Yeah.
Each opponent choose Fame or Fortune. For each opponent who chooses Fame, gain control of a creature that player controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures and they gain haste until end of turn. For each player who chooses Fortune, you draw a card and create a treasure token for 2 generic, 1 red sorcery.
I mean, our ceiling is we get to steal 2 or 3 Esper Sentinels. Our floor is we get to choose the best creature on each person's board or a treasure token and draw a card. I think that this is pretty decent.
We choose the best creatures on every player's board, make them an artifact, and then kill them off.
Hmm.
So we're running Mycosynth Lattice, right?
So hear me out.
Ugh.
I think Thomas's list could actually run Karn Mycosynth Lattice. I don't think
Nice.
mine can.
Yours can't.
Titus,
Yeah.
yours
Mine
is in a
doesn't
really
want to.
weird
Mine wants
spot.
to go too fast for that. I don't want to
Fair
wait
enough.
for that. Okay, let's keep looking because this is Titus, you've put some nonsense in this, but you've put some cool stuff in here too. Sorceries look
I'm getting blown up. One
normal.
second.
Let's move past those to instance.
I want to
Oh,
stop
go
on
ahead.
Declare the Firstborn. I think this is actually gas.
Oh yeah, this
Taking
is just Dargo tech. You've been away too long.
tech from no,
Dargo
Stella Lee.
Timna. Yeah.
Well, Stella Lee is also just a ham sandwich.
Either removes a annoying creature stacks piece that's low enough mana value, or it gives one of your creatures haste.
Notably, that's a good card. Shout out Kyle and Ya.
Did they do an
I'm
episode?
sorry.
I think they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Titus, a man after my own heart, running wear and tear. Running Flame, Scroll Celebrant, all of the dual functioning cards. I love it.
Yeah, go figure. Having choices is good. Something that I think we're all light on is extra turn spells. Final Fortune's good, but I think we should be on 2 or 3 effects because this deck wants to win on its own turn.
We have access to Final Fortunes, Warrior's Oath.
Last Chance, and there's actually another one that's in Boros.
I really don't know that one.
It's
I
3 mana
forget about Last
value,
Chance.
Yeah, we want to stick on the
Oh,
2 manas. Yeah.
not War Leader's Call. I know what you're talking about.
but it's an instant.
And I don't think you lose the game after that one either.
You do.
You do.
Ah,
You lose
well,
the game after all of them.
the
After
hell's
that,
this?
just because I know you really want to talk about Titus, talk about your defense grid.
Oh, just simple thing. Jan Jansen can sack it. That's pretty sweet.
If you play a defense grid, you shouldn't have to sack it, Titus. That's just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. You have
Hold
Brand
on a
Abolisher,
second.
you have Hexing Squelcher, which you're not running, you have Voice of Victory. Get that defense grid out of here.
So you can also use Goblin Welder. You can use Goblin Engineer. You can do it on an opponent's turn
You shouldn't be running
to.
Goblin Hunter and Engineer. Those are not good cards.
They are good cards.
Okay,
No,
I have a
not in
Puntor story to tell
2026.
you. I have
Boss
a
will agree with
Puntor
me.
story
Okay.
about defense grid. I used to play Niv Mizzet Perun before JLo was banned. I ran defense grid and I locked myself out of the game because I couldn't get rid of my own defense grid. And I got silenced and had to pass my turn with the defense grid in play into my opponent's turn. So they were then underneath my defense grid.
Yeah.
Jan Jansen doesn't care.
Yeah.
You know what else Jan Jansen can run? Hexing Squelcher, which is uncounterable.
Yeah, but that doesn't help you against your opponents getting it on their turn.
So what if they
They don't
counter spells aren't
get a turn.
necessarily the end all be all, especially kind of I've noticed for like certain combo decks, they'll target your pieces with like Into the Flood Maw. I feel like just a hard silence so they can't be able to use those effects may be more beneficial in the long run, but I could be wrong.
Hey, that's why we're running a ton of silences. And I do actually, okay, so the welder package, getting a Bolus's Citadel, that is what I was looking for, and that is kind of the one thing that I do think is worthwhile having the welder package for. But I don't know if the rest of your deck kind of is built around that well.
You can get Clock of Omens, you can get rid of a dead artifact piece. Same thing with like Jan Jansen. You can sack your Wish Claw in response to your activation.
For
Um,
sure. But you don't have like an Aether Drift reservoir to like get your health back up.
yeah, the Bolus's Citadel is just value. Play spells, try to see if you can get into a good position or win off of what you're able to see. Jan Jansen has haste. That's one of the things going for the commander. I know Bolus's could probably be cut, in regards to what else is in the list, especially that, Nas may highly likely take you out of the game.
You're running Nas in this list?
Yeah.
Dude!
No
You're
fear.
crazy.
No fear.
My
Have
God.
you seen Mardu lists? They're all, we ball.
Okay, wait. Austin, go look at the average CMC, please. We are shaming this man.
Okay, actually, he's not that bad.
It is 1.52. No, it is
Uh,
2. That is pretty rough there, Titus.
this is a
Okay.
Nas deck.
Look, I believe there are Mardu decks that run Nas and Peer into the Abyss.
I'm not
So
saying that you shouldn't run it, but you shouldn't be on Necropotence. We've looked through all 3 of our decks. At this point, I'm not entirely certain how we rectify these 3 ideas together. And I think we may have painted ourselves into a corner saying that we're going to.
We
Clearly,
got
my
this. No
idea is
fear.
correct.
I don't know. Austin and I seem to agree on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but then you saw my list, and like clearly it's right.
I
We saw
think
your list
there's
first.
I
I know.
I I think there's somewhere where we can meet in the middle without becoming a mess. and to have some cohesive synergies.
No, for sure.
Absolutely.
I do think that a lot of my list would serve as a great base for at least the creature package. Outside of that, I do think that your guys' sorceries instance packages are better than mine, if I'm honest. But I do think the heart of this deck does lie in treasure production. That's what it does the best. That is what the commander does the best. And that's kind of where I think the list would benefit from going. But clearly I'm valuing silences a lot more than Austin is, but I think Titus is on that same page that I'm on.
Yeah, not even on
Hexing
Red
Sculpture wasn't
Blast.
a card when I built my deck.
For sure, but I'm like on Hope of Ghirapur.
I don't think Hope of Garapur is good.
It is a
I
artifact creature that you can sacrifice,
If
and it's a silence.
if we're doing a silence on our creatures or just like permanents, I think Squelcher, Voice, and Defense Grid, or at least the ones that stand out the strongest to me. They're
Grand
just
Abolisher?
I know that we get treasures, but it's just easier to cast them because they have the generic pip.
You're completely right in 99% of decks, but this deck is treasure.deck. Like,
so Hope I like because it's an artifact creature. I really don't like it as a silence effect. The reason being is A, it has to deal combat damage. B, it only prevents them from casting non-creature spells
mhm.
for the remainder of the turn that you sacrifice it. And it has to be the turn that they were dealt damage. So you get your main phase 2, and that is it.
So that's not how that works, Austin. So when you swing in at somebody with
You
Hope
are
of
correct.
Ghirapur, you can delay that till whenever you want to sacrifice it, and then until your next turn, that player who has dealt combat damage cannot cast non-creature spells.
Okay, slightly better card. However, for your turn, you still only get your second main phase.
You're not wrong, but what's really good about this is it is a Orm's Chant that can't be swatted. If you sack it and purely defensively, that's fine. Its floor is we sack it for 2 treasures. Its ceiling is we silence Blue Farm or Kinnan so that they can't stop us from going off.
That implies that you get combat damage to both of them.
It's a flyer. It has evasion.
Crom has flying.
When was the last time you saw a Crom in a game?
That's a very
Uh,
valid statement.
so I can't answer that question because
Fair
I
enough.
played 3
Tinmount gets played a
games.
lot still, but I don't see
Yeah.
Crom get deployed super often.
Desperate, desperate players play Crom.
And this comes down on turn 1, and nobody will do anything other than occasionally misstep it. That's why I like it.
Okay. I will add him to the considering.
You know
I
what?
already
I'll
added
take
Hexy
it.
Squelcher because I think that card is broken. Jesus
Yeah,
God.
it's disgusting. I think that this might end up being a two-parter if we decide that we want to build this deck live on the air. We've gone through our 3 lists together, and we clearly all have differences. Clearly, my deck is the best, and we've all agreed on that. I appreciate your support, guys. Treasure.deck is the clear and obvious winner. Remain silent if you agree. And we've
Hexing
just,
Squelcher is a good card.
Vote. You know
yeah.
what? Vote in the comments. Vote in the comments.
That's a great
Yeah,
Whose
let your
list do you
stuff be known.
like?
Um, but honestly, I do think Jan Jansen is a really cool commander, and I don't think it's been explored correctly. When this was printed way back in Baldur's Gate, we didn't have access to some really cool toys that we have today. And I don't know about you guys, but like after really thinking about this for a solid week, I kind of want to play it and I kind of want to see if like the thought experiments are real or if we're just coping.
I don't know about you. We've had the toys for a long time. Bomberman, LED, Draw Scorpion. Sorry, the copium's real.
Yeah,
But I
I
agree.
mean,
I pulled out my list and I missed the deck.
the Abdel Adrian loops I'll give you have been there forever. I just don't think that they were seen correctly at the right time. I am on the same page as you there. There has been the technology, we just haven't been using it. I think we're going to wrap up, and we may or may not put together another video in the future where we put together a list together. Regardless, all three of our lists will be in the show notes below.
Quick, Austin, edit yours. Make it more modern.
I will modernize mine a little bit too.
I just want to say thank you to Century Sleeves one more time for sponsoring us. Use code EBAM5 in the show notes below for 5% off any order. They've been kind to correct me. That is in perpetuity. Use that correctly. Yeah, words. And welcome, Austin. Thank you for joining Titus and I as members of the punting crew. And if you stayed with us this long, please consider giving this episode a like, follow, and a comment. Tell us whose deck you like the most. Check out our socials below, surprisingly run by the boomer here, me, not the young guns over there. And be kind to each other, be kind to yourselves. It's just a game. And on a quick note, just a little less fun, our hearts go out to the LGBT community. The Supreme Court ruling this week that struck down Colorado's ban on conversion therapy is beyond disgraceful. Kids are going to die over this. And if you have friends, family members who are going to be hurt by this, just know we're there with you. This is not something that should be a thing. Our community is very heavily entrenched with LGBTQ people, and we stand in solidarity. Take care of yourselves, be kind to each other. That might be all we can do for now.